In a world ruled by power, fear, and corruption, two names rise above all others: Homelander and Thomas Godolkin. One was born to be worshipped. The other created gods to be obeyed. Both stand as living embodiments of Vought's darkest ambitions, the perfect symbols of control and chaos. But what happens when the creation meets the creator? When the god of the skies, Homelander, faces the god of the mind, Thomas Godolkin, who truly stands supreme? In this video, we'll break down the abilities, psychology, and dominance of these two titans. We'll uncover how they were made, what drives them, and finally, decide who would win in an ultimate confrontation. Welcome to What's on Hollywood, and this is Homelander vs. Godolkin, who's more powerful? Origins of power, the god and the maker. To understand who's stronger, we must first understand where their powers come from. Homelander's story begins inside a Vought laboratory, not born, but engineered. Created from the genetic material of Soldier Boy, he was designed to be the ultimate weapon, patriotic, invincible, and morally pure. But what Vought created instead was something monstrous. From his first breath, Homelander was surrounded by cold steel, scientists, and manipulation. His mind was programmed to believe that he was not just a superhero, but a savior of mankind. Across decades before him stood another man, Thomas Godolkin, the behavioral scientist who laid the foundation for all Supes. He co-founded Godolkin University, the institution responsible for training generations of superheroes. But Godolkin wasn't just a teacher, he was an architect of gods. In 1967, he led Project Odessa, an experiment meant to create beings beyond human comprehension. When his project went wrong and his lab exploded, Godolkin's body was burned beyond recognition. Yet, through Compound V, he lived, a broken shell hiding an unbroken mind. Over time, he evolved his consciousness into something transcendent, an ability to possess other bodies and live on forever. And for decades, he hid behind a false identity, Cypher, the mysterious professor who trained Marie Moreau and manipulated the next generation of Supes. While Homelander was raised to rule, Godolkin designed the rulers themselves. The contrast is clear: Homelander's power was forced upon him, Godolkin's power was earned through science, obsession, and the pursuit of control. Powers and abilities, mind versus might. When it comes to raw physical strength, Homelander is the undisputed king of the boys' universe. His body is the very definition of a living weapon. He can fly at supersonic speeds, destroy steel with his bare hands, and unleash heat vision strong enough to vaporize humans, metal, or even aircraft. He's bulletproof, explosion-proof, and nearly unstoppable. His superhuman hearing allows him to pick up whispers across cities, and his X-ray vision can see through almost anything. But Thomas Godolkin's power operates on an entirely different plane. Where Homelander commands through brute strength, Godolkin controls through thought itself. He possesses the rare and terrifying ability of complete telepathic possession, the power to invade any mind, take over any body, and control every movement and sensation of his target. He can control multiple people simultaneously, humans and Supes alike, turning them into extensions of his will. Even while in control, his hosts remain conscious, forced to experience every action he performs. It's psychological torment on a godlike scale. While Homelander can tear a man apart, Godolkin can make a man tear himself apart. His mind is a battlefield where no physical weapon can reach him. He's also capable of suppressing pain, extending his lifespan, and even manipulating Supes like Jordan Lee or Sam to use their powers under his influence. So who has the edge here? Physically, Homelander would obliterate almost any Supe alive. But mentally, Godolkin exists on another level. He doesn't need to outfight Homelander if he can outthink him. Psychological warfare, the god complexes collide. Homelander's strength isn't just in his powers, it's in his presence. He's the most feared being on Earth because he knows how to weaponize image, fear, and charisma. To his followers, he's a savior. To his enemies, he's a nightmare wrapped in a flag. But beneath the cape and smile hides a broken child. Homelander's desperate need for love makes him dangerously unstable. The moment he feels rejected or humiliated, he becomes a ticking time bomb. He can destroy an entire city, not out of strategy, but out of emotion. Thomas Godolkin, on the other hand, is pure calculation. He feels no empathy, no attachment, and no remorse. Even when his own body was destroyed, he continued living through others, showing that his will to dominate goes far beyond pain or emotion. He doesn't crave worship like Homelander does, he craves control. Imagine this confrontation. Homelander enters the battlefield with confidence, his lasers burning through the air. But before he can even take a step, he hears a voice in his head, Godolkin's voice. Suddenly, his muscles freeze. His hands tremble. His mind is no longer his own. This is the danger of Godolkin. He doesn't need to face Homelander in open combat. He could take control from miles away, use Homelander's own powers against him, or simply turn his followers against him. However, there's one flaw. Homelander's mind is not ordinary. It's filled with trauma, rage, and a fractured duality. Trying to possess such a chaotic psyche might backfire, possibly even shattering Godolkin's focus. So while Godolkin could manipulate most Supes like puppets, Homelander's unpredictable insanity might be his only line of defense. Final verdict: who is more powerful? Now that we've explored both sides, the mind and the might, let's answer the question once and for all. If the battle is physical, Homelander wins effortlessly. His raw power, flight, and laser vision would tear through Godolkin's body before he could react. Even if Godolkin tried to possess him mid-battle, the intensity of Homelander's power and psychological instability could disrupt the telepathic control. But if the battle is mental, Godolkin reigns supreme. He could manipulate armies, control Supes, and use Homelander's allies against him. In a war of patience, intellect, and manipulation, Godolkin is the real god of the boys' universe. Ultimately, their fight represents two extremes of power. Homelander symbolizes raw, destructive dominance, while Godolkin embodies intellectual and psychological control. One rules the skies, the other rules the mind. And both stand as reflections of Vought's ultimate failure, creating gods without morality. If we must declare a winner, then the truth is simple. In direct combat, Homelander would destroy Thomas Godolkin. But in the grand scheme of influence, Godolkin has already won, because even death couldn't stop him. He built the system that made Homelander. And that means, in a way, Godolkin created his own successor, and his greatest curse. So, when the god of the skies faces the god of the mind, one destroys with strength, the other with thought. But remember this: the hand that builds gods always holds the power to unmake them. Check out my other videos for more epic character crossovers and battles. Thanks for watching, and stay happy and healthy.